Have you ever seen this?
Wretch.
Or this?
Mario, I thought you died in Zanzibar.
Or maybe even this? Then you, my friend,
may be entitled to financial compensation.
Then you, my friend, have been a victim of Microsoft's 3D Movie Maker. Released in October of 1995, 3D Movie Maker is... How do I put it? 3D Movie Maker isn't a game? You could call it a game. It was released by Microsoft Kids, but the way people use it, especially the examples that I just showed you, it's basically 1995's version of a Gmod animation program, and that's what I want to talk about today, but not in the generic video essay way. No, you're here because you want to learn the art of 3DMM-Ing, and I'm gonna teach you. My name is Nosette, let's do this shit. So when you first start up 3D Movie Maker, it's gonna look a little something like this. Yeah, the program runs at like 480 by 600 and there is no way to set it to full screen. The version I'm running called V3DMM lets you turn on full screen, but it makes your entire computer's resolution the size of the window. But let's get into the actual controls of the program now. On the scenes window, we have the scene choices, the camera angles, cut from left, cut from right, and the scene organizer. Scene choices is basically a world selector, and in each scene, there's a variety of camera angles, which can be different places within the same location, or if it's something like the black and white skies, then it'll be different colored skies or different actual pictures of places. Now, these are pre-rendered backgrounds, but they still have collisions, so if you put a guy against a wall, he'll go through the wall. And it does also mean that all camera angles are static unless you start doing some advanced shit, but that's for later. So pick your scene, your camera angle, and now it's time for the actors and props. Now this section is loaded with information, so we're going to just start out simple. At the top you can get your actors, get your props, or create 3D text, which, oh boy, we're going to get into. But for now, we're just gonna go into the actors area. Now, here's where I'm gonna have to pause and say, you're probably not gonna be using the stock version of 3D Movie Maker, because as you know, if you've seen the movies at the beginning, there are mods for this game. So your actors are gonna range anywhere from the stock actors to Nickelodeon characters, to Mario and Luigi as Metal Gear characters, whatever else there is. But I'm personally a huge fan of the stock actors because of how silly they are, and I want to just talk a bit about my favorite actors in the program. First on our list is Gregory. Gregory is your stock kid actor for your movies, but he has other uses. You can see them in the talent book, which is one of the buttons in the actors and props menu. There you can see some pre-made ideas you can make with the costumes given to these characters. Now, I'm not gonna read all of these. You can read these in your own time if you have the program, but one of his most famous roles is in a community-made movie called The Big Movie, where he has to stand still, and if he ever moves, a car comes and hits him, no matter what. He was also the kid in Grandpa Found the Car Keys. Second on our list, and my most favorite actor out of all of them, you might be able to tell, is Gustav. Look at this man and his big ol' grin. Gustav is my favorite character to use, and I don't even know why, but if he was put in Smash Bros, I'd main him. He also has a pimp outfit for some reason. Next up is Patrick, who is mostly known for his big karate moves. He even has a karate outfit, but there's also a mod of him as Gordon Freeman. And if you pause one of his animations, he does the exact same pose as Gordon Freeman does in one of the artworks for Half-Life 2. So you just gotta love him. Next one on the list is Timothy. Now, I like Timothy because of his big old glasses and grin, but also because he created one of the most iconic parts of a 3D Movie Maker. It's so famous, it's gone outside of the game sometimes. You know it, you love it, it's...
Each totem on the pole is a symbolic representation of one family.
Yeah, if you've ever heard that stupid totem line, it's from this game. And speaking of totems, Timothy is known for this ability of yelling boo and causing a totem to sprout out of the ground and hitting someone. It is in fact the climax of the community movie where he does a giant boo that causes the entire world to be covered in totems. Next up is Bongo, the stereotypical fat guy of 3DMM. Now, one thing you'll see about Bongo is compared to all the other characters in the game, he doesn't have a face that's constructed from actual pictures of people. His head is just a shape. Next up is Zack. Now, Zack is unique because he has a giant bag over his head, which makes him useful as some kind of villain character, you know, a masked robber. But he can also dress up as a guy in full camo, and I just love the idea of a guy wearing full tactical gear and then just in the head, just a paper bag that he painted in camo. And some other honorable mentions go to Randolph, Martha, Ramu, and the Rad, which you know where this is from. It's the Rad movie. Everyone's seen the Rad movie. So those were the actors outside of maybe any kind of mods or expansions that you have. But now I want to quickly mention some of the few props that are in the game. The 4 most iconic props in 3DMM are the 2 totem poles, the red car, and the other red car. The totem poles explain themselves, I mean, look at them. But the 2 red cars have something interesting behind them. The first red car, which came with the game, is the only normal car there is in the game, but for some reason it has just these bullhorns at the front. So fans interpret the car as being evil and it just likes to run down people, kind of like a Christine situation. And the other red car, which came with the Doraemon expansion pack, which, yeah, sometime after the game's release, they had an expansion disc which would allow you to add things from the anime Doraemon. But the red car is most known from the video Grandpa Found the Car Keys, which it is the car in the video. But if you know anything about this program, especially the Blue Shell Incident movie, then you know the absolute GOAT of 3DMM is the red cube. This little geometric shape lets you take any scene that's in your movie and change the background out. So you can have any camera angle you want, you can have moving shots, you can have props, you can use the cubes to represent someone's arm, you can basically create anything you want using these cubes. And lastly, what I'd say is the most complex part of this program, the 3D text tool. Now, 90% of the time, it just does what it says. You can create text, you can choose a font, and you can change the texture on it, and then you can place it in the world. But with special modded fonts, you can create any shape you want and put any texture that is in the game, or even custom textures. People took this tiny oversight that you can add fonts into the game and have created entire fonts just to create landscapes, to create special effects. I created a nuclear explosion using Now that you have your actors and props down, we need to talk about sounds. Just like with the actors and props, we have 3 categories: sound effects, voice lines, and music. The sound effects is your average sound library of effects, explosions, people hitting things, footsteps, whatever you can think of. The music, which you've been listening to for this entire video, is a pretty good selection of various MIDI tracks depending on the mood that you need. And you can even import your own MIDI files if you have any. Lastly, it's the voice lines, which there isn't much to write home about. Most of the voice lines in the stock game were for the example animations, and they're mostly incomplete, so they're not worth much, but there are some pretty funny line deliveries.
No!
My grandfather said this mummy is worth millions.
I'll trade a magic trick for a vase.
Those bullies won't bother me now.
Now, an important element of how sound works in 3DMM is each object can hold 1 sound effect and 1 voice line, and the background can hold 1 of each as well as 1 music track. And if you put a sound effect on the same object each frame, it'll just cut itself off over and over, as you can see in this clip.
Die?
You can also see which frames have sound placed in them, as you can see in the bar down there, which is now where we're going to get into, which is the actual animating part. Now, there are 2 ways to animate in 3DMM. One I'd call stop motion and the other I'd call pre-rendered. Stop motion is like the actual art of stop motion in real life, where each frame you just move your character a certain amount per frame. However, you can only move the entire actor at once. You can't just move just the arm or just the hand. For that, you need the pre-rendered animations, which you can access by clicking the running guy icon and then clicking on your character. Using these animations combined with stop motion, you can make your character just about do anything, with some popular uses being holding a gun, falling or being kicked somewhere, and basically anything else. I use stop motion for technical things such as the explosion in this shot, but something like the stock dance animation works just fine for this shot. With all of these basic techniques in mind, you'll be able to make something just as good as the Rad movie, I'd say, if it weren't for the fact that the Rad movie is the best creation God has ever given to us. Thanks, Jerma. But let's say you want to create something more advanced. You want to do moving camera shots. You want to do crazy angles. You want to do weird transitions. Well, that is where the advanced techniques section comes in, baby. Technique number 1, mods. Now, you can have a bunch of joke mods that add, Mario, Garfield, whatever. But most of the mods that I have are generic assets, so you can customize them and create whatever you want with them. The best example being the various 3D fonts that let you create a bunch of different shapes. This nuclear explosion here, the middle center is a mountain. The couch in this shot came from another font. These sparks and blood splatters come from a font specifically made for a directional explosion, and so on and so forth. With all of these combined, you can create custom scenes that can resemble just about anything. But be warned, I recommend personally that you first create the actor's movements and then place the background after.
Technique number 2, moving shots. I don't have a good transition for this one, sob.
Yeah, if you want to make a moving shot of any kind, don't try and do it by hand. If it's very simple, like it is just the cube creating the background, sure, that works just fine, probably. But if you're doing any kind of advanced shot that requires a bunch of props moving in synchronicity, you're gonna want the Animation Pro tool. The Animation Pro tool is just basically a bunch of macros that you turn on for 3DMM, letting you move objects a very specific amount at a time. If you want a tutorial on it, you'll have to check out 3DMM forums that exist, because I am not smart enough to explain it. I was able to install it by myself following that, and that's good enough for me. But with the Animation Pro tool, you can move anything the same distance each frame altogether, letting you create zooms, pans, whatever you need.
Bonus tip.
If you create a cube out of the 3D text and then scroll down through the textures, you'll find these special textures that are just a color and the letter S. These are the solid textures which get no shading, meaning you can get solid color backgrounds without the weird lines that the regular cube gets. And speaking of transitions, technique number 3, transitions. The stock 3DMM transitions suck. Looking at the scene organizer, there's 4 kinds: a cut, a fade to white, and a fade to black. They are really slow and you can't change the speed of them. I do not like them. So the solution to this is using the cubes. By lining up the first half of the transition at the end of one scene, and then the end of the transition in the beginning of the next scene, you have these really neat sliding transitions which I use all the time in my videos.
Bonus tip.
2.
3DMM is a really old program that's trying to render 3D in an ancient engine, and because of this, it renders at around 6 frames per second. I say around because at random it'll start playing faster or slower, especially if you're capturing it with something like OBS, which is what I do. For an actual movie, it's mostly fine as audio will play whenever it hits the frame, but for a music video, it plays from the beginning, so if it desyncs at any point, everything after is ruined. But with all that being said, I still love this program. It has so much charm to it, it has a really fun style, and the myriad of mods you can get for it means that it is just an actual animation medium tool that you can use. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go sew my Gustav body pillow. Hey there, thanks for watching the video. Sorry about the audio. This was recorded with a different setup than usual, but I needed an audio for the outro. This video's been in production since mid-December last year, so I've put quite a lot of work into it, and hopefully it's not my only video. I've had multiple ideas over the past months that I've been working on this, and hopefully this video gets some traction. Hopefully some people are interested in it. I'd like to shout out, and excuse the butchering of the name, 3DMM-Ing Modern, which is a fully animated show on YouTube that's fully made in 3DMM alongside a couple bits of extra 2D animation. It's very, very good, and there's a lot of good original music in there, so do check that out.